Hi, I'm Kris Vaughan, certified clinical herbalist. We're just getting started on this Facebook Live, so I'm going to give it a few minutes for some people to hop on that are wanting to be on here. I'm really excited to be here and thankful for the NTA to let me come on and take over the Facebook today. So I am, like I said, my name's Kris Vaughan, and I'm a certified clinical herbalist and have been since about 2009. I'm also the owner and program director of Herbal Wisdom Institute, which is an herbalism educational facility in Arizona. And I am also the Director of Practitioner Experience for Wise Woman Herbals, which is an herbal product manufacturer. So I wear a lot of hats, do a lot of different things. I kind of always like to have 100 things going on at one time. So some of you might relate to that. But yeah, I started my herbal journey back in about 2007, 2008, I think it was when I did my first herbalism course and dove right in and completely changed my life. And then I went on to be certified as an integrative nutrition health coach. So I also pair nutrition with my herbal practice. So I do a little bit of everything, all designed to support a client at the foundational level. And so I know a lot of you watching today will appreciate that. So I thank you so much for coming on. And I'm going to try to pay attention to the questions down at the bottom as they come in. So feel free to stick a question on there whenever you want. If I don't get to that, then I'll try to look back through them at the end and we'll do some Q&A. I tend to talk and forget to look, so I'll try really hard to do that. So along with being an herbalist and owning a school and teaching and working for an herbal product manufacturer, I'm also a wife and a mom. I have two awesome daughters, and they're pretty much grown. My oldest is married, and my youngest is getting ready to head off to college, so I'm super excited about that. And then I have a foster son also who has grown and has his babies, and so it's been a fun life. And I love to go camping, so that's something that I do in my off time as I camp. And really it's my chance to sit out in the woods with some plants, right? And anywhere that I can to just be in nature. My husband and I love to be out camping and hunting, and I like to go hiking and all that fun stuff. And then I'm kind of a bookworm too, so I mean, you can see some books behind me, but my daughter laughs because when I'm reading a book that doesn't have anything to do with herbs, she's really shocked, and she says, "Oh, I'm proud of you, Mom, you're reading just for fun." So that's a little bit about me. I didn't grow up around anything natural, so I'll tell you a little bit about my journey of how I got into herbalism. Oh, someone's here from Alaska. Hi, Rebecca from Alaska. Nice to see you. That's one place I would always love to go. So one day I will get there. But anyway, what got me into herbalism and studying herbs and working in a clinical practice? Like I said, I didn't grow up around anything natural. Wasn't brought up using herbs at all, or even really paying attention to nutrition. So I was like probably most people, or a lot of people, when I was growing up, if we got sick, Mom took us to the pediatrician, and you just did what the doctor said, right? So it was probably early 2008, maybe late 2007, when my daughter was, I think she was 7, and she woke up one day and had a stomach ache. Oh, I'm going to bring Rachel on here. One second, Rachel Elm. Hello. So my daughter was 7, and she woke up with a stomach ache, which, for a little kid before school, you don't really think too much about it. So when the stomach ache went on for a few days, your mom tuition kicks in, and you go, okay, something doesn't seem right. And so I started to take her to the doctor. And at this point, you know, it was a few days and she wasn't eating, she wasn't sleeping well, she was crying, wanting to come home from school early. And so we go to the doctor, and they really, you know, they ran some blood work, but they really didn't find anything. And they said, oh, well, here's an antacid. And I thought to myself, you know, a 7-year-old on an antacid, that just doesn't sound right. But okay, well, that's what the doctor said, so that's what I'll do. So we did that. And a couple weeks later, she was still having pain and it was progressing. And so this led to probably about 9 months of every doctor visit you could imagine and every invasive test. So multiple times of blood work. She had upper GI, she had CAT scans, she had MRIs, she had an endoscopy. Poor little thing at 7, right? And every single test would say the same thing. They would go, well, there's inflammation, we don't know why, here's an antacid. And I just thought, you know, this is ridiculous. I mean, this poor little girl, she was so tiny anyway. My kids were super, super little. And here she is not eating and she's losing weight, and she just really couldn't afford that. Well, at the time I was in the cosmetology industry and I was doing nails, and I had a client of mine who came in and she worked for a naturopathic doctor. And so I thought she was kind of weird because she was into all that natural stuff that I didn't know anything about. And so she said one day, can I give you a few suggestions? And I thought, whatever, nothing else is working, so go ahead. So she recommended a few simple things. I mean, now I look at them and think they're simple, and you're probably going to think this is simple too, but I didn't know anything about this. So she recommended at that time fish oil, a probiotic, some aloe juice, and marshmallow root capsules. So I go to the health food store, I buy all this stuff, I bring it home, and I start to give it to her. Oh, Mallory, you said same thing has happened to you? I know a lot of us probably have the same story from the doctor, right? We go and don't get anywhere. So anyway, I go home and I buy all this stuff, and I take it home and I start to give it to her. And 3 days later, no pain. 3 days. After 9 months of all these tests, and I had to stop and go and reevaluate and go, okay, I am obviously missing something. I'm obviously missing a piece to health that I never even thought of. So what is that? So I started to do all this research on the items that she had recommended that I give. And I was most fascinated by the aloe and especially the marshmallow root capsules. For some reason, the marshmallow plant really drew me to it. And so I became this research fiend on why those things worked for her. And through that research process, I decided that I think I'm being led to go to herbalism school, which of course my husband and family thought I was crazy. But I went and I checked out an herbalism course. I checked out a few of them and I picked one, and I went to class that first day like a complete fish out of water, because everyone else in there had had some experience with herbs and I had nothing. But I thought, just stick it out, it's okay. And I am so glad I did, because my entire worldview changed. The way that I care for my family changed, the way that I care for myself. And over this last 10 years, it has led to me working clinically as a practitioner, but then also to become an educator. I'm really passionate about sharing the journey that I have been on and watching other people create that journey for themselves. So I opened my school in 2016, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And also I've been working with an herbal products manufacturer for the last just about 10 years. I started with them when I was right out of herbalism school. So really an incredible life-changing choice that I made on that day. And I'm so thankful. And so in my clinical practice, what I find that I focus on the most is digestive health, right? You know, 95% of the people who come to see me, no matter what they come in complaining about, you all know it goes back to digestion. So I focus mostly in digestive health and complicated chronic illness, which ends up being a lot of autoimmune conditions, which is something that I have dealt with personally for myself and with my daughter. And so, you know, we do what we know and we do what we love. And so that's where I'm really drawn. And I'm really, you know, thankful to have been introduced to the Nutritional Therapy Association really through my work with Wise Woman Herbals, the product manufacturer. We began to do a project for the Nutritional Therapy Association in creating an herbal kit that we call the Botanical Fundamentals Kit to support the linguistic or the lingual neuro testing that the nutritional therapists use, and then other practitioners as well that use you know, like applied kinesiology. And I use this particular kit in my clinical practice too, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that kit in a little bit. I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm working on currently, personally and in with my work with Wise Woman Herbals. So in my school, Herbal Wisdom Institute, we're just coming into this next session of Herbalist certification. So I do a certification course each year. This year, the course is 9 months and 1 weekend intensive a month. So I'm really excited about that course. It's a Saturday and Sunday, one time a month. The in-person seats are full, but people can register to attend by live webcast. So that's a really nice option because it doesn't matter where you live, you can attend and study to be a certified herbalist and use herbs in your practice. The other thing that I'm working on is the second annual Southwest Herb Fest. And so that is a one-day herbal conference that we hold here in my area, which is Prescott, Arizona. It's in northern Arizona, and the cool pines and beautiful fresh air. And then with Wise Woman Herbals, it's the Botanical Fundamentals Kit that I mentioned, which really gives a nutritional therapist an opportunity to have 25 liquid extracts that you can test with in your practice. And so that really leads me into how do I practice as an herbalist and how do I choose foundational support for my clients. And so when I'm working with herbs, we can really get caught up in studying the chemistry of the herbs and their mechanism of action and how do we prescribe a particular herb for a particular symptom. And then we really start to border on working very similar to how, say, an allopathic physician would work. You know, you have this symptom, we're going to give you this herb. And there are times where that's necessary and that's fine. But I like to look at a person in a more holistic way and foundationally what is missing and foundationally where are they off balance. And so we begin to then look at herbs in terms of patterns and what they support on a foundational cellular level, and not as much in the chemistry. And so we're looking to pair the herb with a particular body system that it has an affinity for, and it helps to bring it to balance. And then I also look at the herbs in terms of what personality does this herb have, and then what personality does my client have, and how do those pair up. And so we get a lot of that information from the flavors of an herb and the energetics of an herb. And so there's one tool that I use. I'm going to show you this. It's going to look backwards, but this is an herbal energetics guide. And so this is actually a component of the kit that I was mentioning, and I use this in my practice every day. And so on this guide, you'll see it's color coded. And so each color represents a particular herbal flavor. And so we have 5 flavors of herbs in Western tradition. And so we have bitter herbs, and bitters, when you hear the word bitter, we think stimulating digestion. So bitter herbs will increase digestive juices, increase enzymatic activity in the stomach and in the pancreas, so that as we eat, we are more able to digest the food properly, break down the proteins and the carbohydrates, and then absorb nutrients. And bitters also help to increase movement through the digestive tract. So when we have someone that is having digestive upset, or they're not able to eat, digest, and eliminate properly, then we look at herbs in the bitter category to bring back the normal healthy function of the digestive tract. So from the minute a person even smells food, really, it starts this cascade of hormones that stimulate the production of all of the digestive juices and get the muscles of the digestive tract moving so that things can move along that assembly line of the digestive tract. So the next flavor that we have are sour, and so sour goes right along with bitter herbs as well. And so sour herbs are ones that stimulate the liver and the gallbladder, the liver to produce bile, and then the gallbladder to release that bile when we are needing to digest fats. And so those bitters and sours often are found in the same plant. So that's really nice because we don't have to, choose an herb that is a bitter and then another herb that's a sour. They typically will come together. So herbs do lots of different things all at one time. And I always say, thankfully, they're so much smarter than we are because we don't really have to know it all. The herbs know exactly what to do. So another flavor that you'll have is sweet flavor. And so sweet will typically be something that is very nourishing and something that is very demulcent. So earlier I mentioned the marshmallow capsules that I gave to my daughter, and so those would fall into a sweet category. And what a demulcent is it's a plant that has what we call mucilage, and that goes in and it coats and soothes hot, irritated mucous membranes, and it stimulates normal mucus production in those membranes. So we reduce irritation and we give that tissue time to heal. And so that was really what was so powerful with my daughter was let's coat and soothe that tissue that was really, really hot and let it heal itself. So that was really fantastic. And then another flavor is pungent. Now we all know pungent. Pungent means spicy. Pungent means hot. So we're thinking things like garlic and onion and ginger, right? Those are really spicy, hot herbs. And so pungent herbs are typically herbs that are very antimicrobial. And so if you think about garlic, it's like our best antimicrobial herb on the planet. And so, I use a lot of garlic. I recommend people eat a lot of garlic. And I always joke around and say, if you eat enough garlic, you'll never get sick because nobody with a bug will want to come near you, right? But it's true that it really is one of our best antimicrobials. So I always recommend garlic. And then the last category would be salty. And so salty means that those particular herbs have a lot of minerals in them. Now we have two kinds of salt. So we have mineral rich salt. And so that would be something like yellow dock. And then we have true salt, which would be something like our seaweed. So when you eat seaweed, you taste true salt in there. So there's two different things. Those are also very nutritious, nourishing herbs, and things that a lot of these are things we often will put into food, right? Because food being our best medicine, the number one way that we nourish ourselves and that we heal the body is through food. And so when I'm working with a client in my practice, the nutrition is the first thing that we have to discuss. And so for somebody who's not really ready, they're kind of surprised. They're like, yeah, I just want you to, help me sleep better. I just came here for something for sleep. Well, we have to get nutrition under control first, because when we're feeding the body with the fuel that it really needs, 90% of the time, all those symptoms go away because the body comes back to balance. If there are some symptoms that are left after nutrition is under control, then we come in with herbs that are really specific for what's going on with that particular person. And so we're not just putting a Band-Aid on by giving an herb the same way that we would give a medication. And so that's what I love about really pairing herbs and nutrition together, is that understanding that at the deepest foundational level of every single cell, we know how to feed that. We just have to remember how to feed that. And we have to get people back into the kitchen. I can't even tell you how many times people say, oh, I don't cook because I don't know how. And I was one of them. So, I totally understand. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't care to cook until my daughter got sick. And after my whole life kind of turned upside down, I realized how important it is to heal the body through food. So that's really the first thing that I go to, and then herbs after that. So let's see. When people hear that I'm an herbalist and that I teach, I get kind of some most common questions. So I'm going to go through my most common questions, but if you have any questions that you are interested in knowing anything about, pop them up on the screen and I'll be happy to answer. But probably the first one people ask is if they're a practitioner of some sort, they say, how can I learn how to use herbs in my practice? And so the first would be to get some really good books, to get yourself started to immerse yourself in kind of the herbal world, right? And so this is a book, this is Herbal Medicine from the Heart of the Earth by Dr. Cheryl Tilner. And I love this book because she goes through individual materia medica, so information on about 165 single plants. So you learn about the actions of each of those plants and what they're doing in the body. And then she goes through recipes of formulas. So like, you know, if you need a digestive formula, she has that in there. But then she also teaches you how to make herbal medicines. So there's step-by-step instructions in this book. So I highly recommend Herbal Medicine from the Heart of the Earth. This is a required textbook for students that come through my course. And it also is a required textbook for a lot of naturopathic medical schools. So recommend that. And then I recommend seeking out herbalist classes or courses either in your area or online. And so that can be something like my course through Herbal Wisdom Institute that you can take as live webcast. But you may find an herbalist in your area that's doing a course, or a variety of small classes if it's not a large, you know, series of classes. But just get out there and get into some classes and start to learn what is in your area, because just like with whole foods and seasonal foods and local foods, that all applies to herbs as well. So if you can use herbs that are local to your region, then that's a whole lot better than herbs that come from, you know, really far away. So that would be my first two recommendations: is get some really good books and find a course that feels right to you to get that herbal knowledge. My course tends to be very focused in clinical application because that's where my passion is in clinic. We do some field study and we do medicine making and we touch on the spiritual aspect of herbs as well, but mine is very clinical focused. The next question that I get is, what is the difference between herbal medicine and contemporary medicine? And so we find this answer a lot in how a person responds to different things and what are the mechanism of actions of herbs versus a contemporary pharmaceutical medication. So a pharmaceutical medication is a very simple structure. It's typically one chemical that a long time ago they were derived from plants, but now they're made synthetically. Whereas an herbal medicine in one particular plant might have thousands of phytochemicals. So what we're finding in contemporary medicine, especially in the place of like antibiotics, is that we're finding a lot of antibiotic resistance because bacteria are super smart and they have learned, and they continue to learn very quickly, how to resist these pharmaceutical antibiotics. But now in terms of a plant, which is such this complex being, and we might have hundreds of chemicals in that plant that we haven't been able to name, but there's hundreds more that we don't even know yet what they are and what they do. And I don't know that we'll ever know. And that's really kind of the beauty of the plants. And so they're so complex that the body can't, and the bacteria or virus or whatever it is, can't resist those herbs. But the herbs also have the ability to go in cellularly at the foundation and bring a body back to balance, whereas a pharmaceutical medication often is changing a pathway. So let's say if you have chronic pain, it's going to dull your response to pain. It doesn't take the pain away. It just changes in the brain how you perceive pain. Now, an herb, depending on which herb you're choosing, can come in and bring the body back to homeostasis, bring the body back into balance, and make some corrections in the body. So that's the main difference. Herbal medicine does take a little bit of work. It's not a magic pill. Just like with nutrition, It's not a magic pill. It doesn't happen overnight. But man, the rewards are huge. Huge. I know a lot of you probably watching have had your own story of having to heal from something. That's probably what brought you into being a nutritional therapist, is you had your own journey and you had to figure it out kind of on your own, or maybe you had some mentor that took you by the hand and brought you along on that journey of theirs. And now you get to do that for other people, and that's so awesome. Because, you know, one person at a time, we get to teach them how they get to be their own healer by changing what they do in the kitchen and changing what they use as medicine. And it's awesome. So those are two of the biggest questions that I get. So if any of you have questions, I'm happy to answer. This has been a really great opportunity for me to be here with you, and I really thank you for that. Thanks for taking a few minutes of your day. I know it's right in the middle of the day, and you guys probably have a lot of things to do, but I am really honored to have been here. And thank you to the Nutritional Therapy Association for asking me to come and do this. And I'm really excited because I'm probably going to be speaking at the next conference, so I'll be able to give a class on herbs there, and so really looking forward to that. And so I thank you again, everyone, for watching. If you have questions for me, you want to reach out, you can do that through my website, which is herbalwisdominstitute.com. And again, we're in Arizona. So thank you so much. Appreciate being here, and I look forward to hearing from some of you. Have a great day.